Have you ever played a game where becoming more powerful guaranteed that you would die? Not like eventually, not if you made a bad decision, not because you challenged the final boss. I mean, the moment you chose your character to play, because that's exactly what Rift asks your players to do. Imagine being offered incredible strength, lightning fast reset flexes, and the ability to fight monsters that would tear ordinary people apart. You become this like living legend. There's just one catch. The game tells you right up front, you're gonna die. Not maybe, not probably. You're dead in about 6 years. No miracle cure, no magical resurrection, no second chances. And here's the question for you. Why would anyone be willing to play a character like that?
Demons, the coalition, one world, infinite adventure, railguns and dragons reborn.
Hey folks, Vince the Evil DM here. One of the things that I love about old school Rifts is that it wasn't afraid to ask really the uncomfortable questions to you. Most role playing games reward you for surviving. You gain levels, you collect treasure, you get stronger. The goal usually is to keep your character alive for as long as possible. Rift looks at that idea and basically says, what if I had to have that power, but if I had that power, it had a price? Not like a temporary penalty, not a few lost hit points, your entire future. That's the juicer. And I don't think that modern players realize just how shocking this concept really was. Because this wasn't just another fighter. It wasn't another barbarian with big, huge muscles. It wasn't a superhero. A juicer was someone who willingly accepted a death sentence in exchange for becoming the most dangerous human on the battlefield. That's an idea. And it's probably one of the reasons Rifts also felt so different from almost every other RPG out there. So what exactly is a juicer, you're probably asking if you're new here, and probably if you are not new here, you know what it is exactly, so you know what I'm talking about. But here is the simple, cut down version of it. Imagine the greatest athletes in history, all right? We're looking at that. Imagine those people. Now imagine someone figured out how to make them 10 times more powerful than they already are, or stronger than they already are. Not through training or, cybernetics or something, or chemistry. A juicer undergoes a brutal medical procedure where a sophisticated biological computer called the biocomp system is implanted throughout the body. From that moment on, it's constantly pumping drugs, stimulants, painkillers, hormones, and microscopic medical technology into their bloodstream. The result is incredible. They're stronger and they're faster and they're able to do things, that no normal person can do. They heal quicker. They stay awake for days. In combat, their metabolism is accelerated so dramatically that the world almost appears to move in slow motion around them. If you ever watched an action movie where the hero seems to react before everyone else knows what's even happening, kind of like, maybe Spider-Man, right? In a sense, he's got mutant powers, but he could be a juicer. And when you first read the Rifts rulebook, it's easy to think, well, why wouldn't anybody do this? This is cool. Then you keep reading and the biocomp never stops. It never gives the body a chance to recover. Every burst of speed, incredible leap, and impossible fight, every battle, the machine is quietly burning the person alive from the inside out. Well, the rulebook doesn't sugarcoat it for you. It describes organs failing and bones breaking slowly. The immune system just kind of collapsing on itself, and the heart just kind of giving out. The body is literally being used up faster than nature ever intended our bodies to even have for recovery. And then comes one of the most shocking paragraphs in the entire book, that at least I think so when it comes to the book. It tells the player, you know what? You take this, there's no exceptions, there's no cure, there's no magical technology to help you, there's no resurrection. Once your time is up, it's over. Think about how different that is from most RPGs. Normally, death is something that does happen. It might happen. In Rifts, your character sheet comes with an expiration date for being a juicer. You aren't trying to avoid death at this point. You're trying to decide what you do before death catches up to you. And here's the part I think a lot of people miss. Juicers weren't popular because they were overpowered. They were popular because they made every decision that you do matter. And now I want you to think about that for a minute. In most RPGs, your character's future is almost unlimited. Almost. You expect to keep leveling, getting richer, finding better gear. There's always another adventure around the corner for you to have, another dungeon quest. The juicer now doesn't have that luxury at all. Every mission could be their last mission, so they have to do whatever they can do with the time that they have. And that changes the way you roleplay your character if you think about that. Instead of asking, should we risk or should we do this? A juicer is more likely to say, well, if not now, when am I going to do it? Let's do it. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Suddenly, charging that suddenly if you're going to charge that dragon, it doesn't seem so crazy for a juicer anymore. Standing your ground while everyone else escapes, sure, juicer will do it. Taking on the impossible odds, rolling the dice, juicer right there, front man. That's exactly why some people become juicers in the first place, and the rulebook gives us some insight into why or who these people really are. Some were desperate. I'm not talking about the player, I'm talking about the character in the game, not the actual player, before you jump all over me here. Some were desperate, some wanted revenge, some wanted enough money to take care of their families. Others simply refused to believe the stories about how quickly the chemicals would destroy them. They didn't care. And yes, some wanted just a few years of perfection, no matter what the cost was or what came afterwards. They didn't care. It's kind of fascinating if you really think about that. Because Rift isn't saying there are good choices, it's saying there are believable choices. History is full of people who knowingly accepted short lives. Test pilots, bomb disposal experts, special operative soldiers, firefighters running into collapsed buildings. People have always traded safety for purpose. Now the juicer, on the other hand, just turned that idea up to 11. Instead of asking, instead of asking, would you die for something? Riff asked, would you spend the rest of your life dying for it? And that's probably a harder question to answer. And that's what made this character class unforgettable. It wasn't the strength and it wasn't the speed. It wasn't even all the combat bonuses, though it was great. It was the clock. The clock was always ticking above your head. Every player knew it. Every game master knew it. And because everyone knew it, every victory meant just a little bit more. One of the biggest trends in modern RPG games these days, and I constantly hear it, is player agency and player balance. Developers spent years making sure every class contributes equally to the game. Nobody wants one character overshadowing another. Nobody wants players making bad character choices. Rifts came from a completely different philosophy when it came to all these things. It wasn't trying to protect you from hard decisions. It just wanted you to make decisions. The juicer isn't balanced at all because that's not the point. The point is asking, what would you sacrifice to become extraordinary? What would you do? That's the question every player has to ask for themselves. Some people look at the juicer and think, 6 years? No thanks. And others immediately say, done, that's my character class. And that reaction kind of tells you something, not about the game, kind of about you in a sense. That's why people still ask and they still talk about the juicer classes decades later, not because of the bonuses on the character sheet, not because they can punch harder than anything in the world, but because every fight kind of meant something. Every victory comes at a cost and every day mattered. That's the kind of storytelling that sticks with you to the end of time. And I think that's one of the reasons Rift's still remembered today is for one of these classes, and Juicer is one of them. And Rifts was never known for being perfectly designed. because obviously it's not balanced, but because it's willing to ask the question that most RPGs never would. Would you trade your future to become a legend today? For a lot of Rifts players, the answer was yeah, absolutely. And that's why Juicers probably became one of the most iconic character concepts in tabletop gaming. Now, if you've never experienced Rifts before, hopefully now you kind of understand why people still talk about Juicers more than 30 years later here. It wasn't just another character class, it was probably one of the most interesting or bold ideas ever put into an RPG. And the crazy thing is, the Juicer wasn't even the strangest thing in Rifts, as you know. But I'll get into that later on as we get deeper into the Rift series. So if you've enjoyed this one, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments your experiences with Juicers or what you think of Juicers. And I guess the big question is, would you play a Juicer knowing how your fate actually ends in 6 years? I would really like to know your answer on that. Till next time, I'm Vince the Evil Dungeon Master, and you can always find me at railgunsanddragons.com for my website for this series. So keep original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless everybody.